The way this seminar works and the way that I work in a seminar, you'll notice I don't stand behind a podium, not just because I'm short, but also because I like to go and participate with and interact with you guys as I'm going through the seminar. I will guarantee you if you're on your phone, I will call on you. It's just a little thing that I have. So we're going to talk about the venous freeze. How many, by show of hands, have a venous freeze? Wow, that's nice. Sometimes I go into a room, it's like half-half, you know. So can you tell me one thing the venous freeze does? This is going to be a bit of a review. This table.
Skin tightening.
Skin tightening, absolutely. This table?
Rejuvenates.
Rejuvenate. Yes. This table? Didn't think I'd call on you, right?
Yeah.
Which?
Pull reduction.
Yes. This table?
Some great clues behind you.
I know. That's why I do that. When it's really quiet, I tell everyone to go get a coffee. Wonderful. And can anyone tell me what the radio frequency does? This table back here. Who? Wonderful. Yes, it does. I have a great eye treatment too. Happy to demonstrate for you. What else does radio frequency do? You look at me very blank. Very blank. They need coffee. Radio frequency. What else does it do?
Creates heat.
Very nice. Collagen.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Now here's a little tricky one now. How much do you know about PEMF? Pulsed electromagnetic fields. Am I going to hear crickets?
It polarizes the radio frequency.
It which?
Polarizes the radio frequency.
All the hair gets in the way.
Increase blood supply to the area being treated, better blood circulation.
Beautiful, I love it.
You're tightening the vascular system to make it clearer, so you're bringing better oxygen to the skin.
Very
and
nice.
maintain the look of the skin and the freshness.
Very nice. You know what I like about all these little clues? And you're welcome to turn on your phones for one reason, and that's if you want to record anything during this session, you're welcome to. I like that you are all coming up with words that are friendly and not neocollagenesis and all these things that our customers look at us very blank and say, wow, that's pretty scary. This is nice because these are all friendly words that you're going to use in your practices, in your businesses, in your spas when you're talking to your patients to help them understand what the services do. And this table's not escaping me either. I'm going to talk first a little bit about some new technology because everyone was asking me, are you going to talk about the Viva? And yes, I'll talk about the Viva. My colleague here, Anna, who looked down for a moment, so I'm going to call on her. So Anna has a lot of experience with the Viva. And did you want to say a little bit about what you're doing in Asia with the Viva?
Actually, the reason I work in, Tracy works in North America and the States. I work in the rest of the world. And I've been working more with the Viva because they don't need so many regulations. They don't need the FDA, they don't need the CE approval. They will have their different approvals. So I've been working with the Viva now for a couple of months. And it's quite amazing. The main thing I can say is that we get an immediate effect that is great. As you said, you go into the bathroom, you see that it works. So after just half a face, you can see the immediate effect. It hardly has any downtime. Tracy will explain it. It has really, the pin size is so small. It's the smallest on the market, but there's the most amount of pins in the tip. We are working at a very low power because we are the only product on the market that has a technology that we can change the power, and we're working at a low power. So it's not that painful, and it doesn't actually leave significant marks on your skin. So actually in Hong Kong, they were saying they want to use it as a lunchtime treatment. I have actually seen patients that we've treated in the morning and then we went out to lunch together. So that is the level of downtime. It could be a little bit red, but it's great.
Wonderful. Well, in North America, we've rolled out 40 centers to test and trial it under what we call IRB, which is Investigational Review Boards. We're very, very strict in North America. And we have these 40 centers trialing it out. And what we're finding is for a fractional device, not only is it more flexible for different skin types and for different pain tolerances, but we also find that it's improving the texture and the appearance of the tissue very quickly. So whereas traditionally you might need 3 full treatments to get a full result, we are seeing significant treatments within 1 or 2 treatments. Not to say we're not recommending 3, because we still are, but we're seeing significant changes. So that means that your patient satisfaction increases because people aren't worried about, oh, I've got to go for another treatment. Also the pain, and for those of us who've been in the industry a long time and had other services, the pain is very tolerable because the treatment is so fast as well, which is really nice. So yes?
How does this treatment work in comparison to B2B? Because I haven't seen this before.
Yeah, so you're all looking at me very, very blank, right? Okay, so this is fractional treatment. So this is different in the sense that what we're doing is fractionally or partially ablating the tissue and causing damage partially in those areas to rejuvenate the tissue. And the idea is that rather than like a CO2 where you're fully ablating the surface of the skin, what you're doing is you're ablating in small areas and causing the tissue around that's not damaged to rejuvenate the tissue that is damaged. So there's been other devices on the market that have done this. This isn't a novel idea, but the way that it's being delivered is different. It's being delivered in a radio frequency and it's delivered in smaller parcels. So then the little amount that's left or the footprint that's on your skin is not as significant like it has been in the past. As well, when you have a smaller footprint and you have smaller pins, because they're actually micro needles that are put onto your skin, and then as they continue to ablate, they penetrate a little bit into your skin. You'll find that the smaller the pin size, which ours is the smallest on the market, the less pain. And you can still create as much damage. And as Anna was saying, we can actually deliver it using less energy. Now, it's kind of a mindset, a different mindset to say less energy. And the reason that you might want to deliver less energy is less pain. Still, you control the amount of ablation that you're doing using the different levels of either volts, as we call them, and I'll go through after the session how the device uses volts in milliseconds. But you can control it completely, which really makes a difference when you're delivering and trying to cause a biological response in the body. It's not about pumping as much as you can through the skin and using as much energy. So it's the same idea as the freeze in the sense that you're causing a biological response, so you don't need all that wasted energy in the tissue and cause your patients all this pain.
How does it compare to microneedling?
It's going to be much stronger than microneedling, and also it's more controllable. So in microneedling, a lot of things come into play. Pressure, technicians, and also passing with it. It's a little bit more difficult. This actually leaves a small footprint for a second or two for you to allow to put and place the head on again. So then you see where the footprint is, so you don't have areas that either double passed by accident or missed by accident. Of course, these are all by accident, but these areas you won't have that. Also microneedling, so a little painful. Little. So there's a lot of different technology on the market, as we sort of touched on. And I'm not going to go through all the different pieces of technology. I've used a lot of it, as I'm sure most of you have as well. But I will touch on the actual energies themselves. And we'll talk today a little bit about energy. And later on in my presentation, I'm going to touch on what we talked about first, which is mixing technologies together, so some of these together. So we know RF works, right? Does everybody agree on that? I hope so, being Venus Freeze users. So do you know the difference between bipolar and monopolar systems? Does this table? No? The delivery of it? Okay, so I'll dispel a little myth, is that energy, radio frequency energy, is delivered in different ways. It's always delivered the exact same way, which is bipolar, which means you have a positive and a negative pole. However, the platform in which it's being delivered is what these companies are talking about, which is bipolar, meaning it just goes between two poles, like it normally should. Monopolar, meaning it goes between a positive to a pad, or like ours, where it shifts energy all around in a circle, causing it to have less pain, okay, as it shifts around. All of them work, but there's some different problems with them. So with the different problems with a bipolar platform, obviously you can get some burns if you lift off and you arc, pain, because the point between the two electrodes divided in half is your depth of penetration approximately. The problem is that's also what they call a convex point of heat, which means the area where all the heat collects. So that's why you get that ouchy feeling. Anybody in here who's had bipolar systems might have felt that, and you're nodding away, might have felt that little pinch, and that's why. So there's a little bit of safety issues with it when you're dealing with darker skin types, when you're dealing with safety on patients with skin sensitivities. Now when you're dealing with monopolar systems, and those are the very first systems that came out, then what happens is the positive pole is placed on your skin, and there's a grounding pad somewhere, either on your shoulder or on your back of your neck, on the back of your flanks. And what happens is the energy has to travel between those two. Just like I told you, everything is a bipolar, right? Everybody, am I losing anyone here? No? Now to do that, radio frequency takes the path of least resistance. The path of least resistance is heat. So it's not smart. And I always say what happens is it sits here and it says, where do I want to go? It doesn't go here and make a straight line. What it does is it travels through your body to the warmest parts, travels and then goes up to that pad. To do that, you have to set the systems usually to a certain amount, a cutoff amount. So you're going to say, I want 50 watts delivered to the skin. The system has the capability of 450 watts to 650 watts, depending on the system. You need that much energy because it's a lot of wasted energy going through the body to get to that grounding pad. It's not that it's bad. It's not that it's dangerous. It's just it causes more pain because the patient feels it more. And that's why people have come out with the bipolar system, which was the second generation. Third generation now being multipolar. So can this table tell me what multipolar is?
It's traveling to the different sort of paths rather than just going almost singular.
Absolutely. What it is it's all of our poles, so 8 poles, and each one of the poles has the capability and possibility of being both positive and negative. When one pole is positive, the rest are all negative, and it goes around in that sequence 1,000,000 times per second, which is even hard to fathom how quickly that is. But by doing this and by switching the cables all around, you create a deep heating matrix, and that's the third generation of radio frequency. So that'll help you understand when somebody comes to you and says, I saw this ad and it was for system XXX, and they say that it's better because it has 450 watts, and that's got to be better. Now you're going to know how to explain that to them, the difference between all of the different radio frequencies. Radio frequency works, but how it's delivered makes the difference in pain, in safety, in tolerance. Make sense? So we're going to talk about ultrasound. There's 2 different types of ultrasound. Anybody have an ultrasound system in here? And is it focused or unfocused? I won't ask you the brand. Focused or unfocused? Focused. Focused? Great. Most of them in cosmetic medicine you're going to find are focused. What's the difference? Unfocused is like a cone, upside down like this, and that's the one that takes pictures of your babies. Okay? Focused goes like this, like the cone upside down. So then all the energy comes down to one point. That one point is targeted at different areas. So whether it's going to be, usually it's water that it's targeting, that's what its chromophore is, or its target. So you're going to be targeting that area. And the depth is depending on how big that cone is. So that's a very basic explanation of it. But what is focused ultrasound good for? I'll ask you since you have a system. What's it good for? Tightening? No, it's not its primary. It's not its primary. The primary is usually fat.
Yeah.
It's usually, yeah, lipolysis. It causes lipolysis or a little disruption to the fat cell. That's usually what the focused ultrasounds are for. And their secondary would be tightening. So you can see now where I'm going with this, with the freeze being able to come in and tighten when you're using a technology that's mainly used for just fat. Now, cryolipolysis or cool sculpting, does anybody have a cryo system? I saw our cameraman lift his hand. I don't think you do, though. No, you're just adjusting. Okay, this became very, very popular in North America. I'm not so sure, and is it popular here? Not so much? Yeah, sometimes, yeah, a little bit, yeah. Basically, the idea is to freeze the fat, which sounds like a really good idea, but it's a little bit longer road. What you're doing is you're freezing the area in the fat, which is inducing the thermal response in the body, because the body's natural healing response is to heat up, right? So I kind of look at it this way as, and I'm not going to say it doesn't work, it just takes a lot longer to work on some areas, but I look at it this way, you know, why am I going to drive to the supermarket to get home? I may as well just drive home if I want to go home, right? So why do I want to freeze the area to heat it up? I may as well just use the freeze and heat it up, right? Makes sense? Cut out a step. That's my thought anyway. Low-level lasers. Are there any of those that are popular here? No? Anybody have low-level lasers? Those are the red lights, red light lasers. Those ones usually work on a fat disruption. So they work on disrupting the fat cell, causing it to leach out its contents. The science on that's a little iffy. You know, you can argue both ways on whether it works or not. I've actually had some of these systems, and some of them have worked and some of them haven't. And then add in manual manipulation, which is, you know, your lymphatic drainage, or something that has a suctioning to it where it actually does it for you so you don't have to work your hands to a bone. And those are very good. We all know lymphatic drainage works, right? Anybody have lymphatic drainage systems in their practice? The endermology type systems? You guys did? And you're finding it's...
Well, I don't use it as much now. I used to do electrolipolysis as well.
Okay.
So you sell taking the bulk of the cells.
Yes.
You do a diet program that works very well.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I'm a big one of selling things in packages. I don't often do what I call a one-trick pony where I'll say, you know what, this is all you need. Because we know that that's not all you need. We need everything, right? Infrared. So infrared has been popular on the market for a long time. I'd be surprised if I see any hands for infrared now. Not many people use it. Usually they combine it with another technology. The idea is to heat the surface of the skin and to cause that path of least resistance for radio frequency. That's usually what the combination you'll see together. Occasionally you'll see it with the focused ultrasound, but not very often. It's not common. But that's what it's truly meant to do, is just heat the surface of the skin. So it will raise it temporarily. The benefit is, of course, is that it causes that path of least resistance. The minus is that it could cause burns if it comes in, your skin comes in contact with the IR panel or infrared panel. So you just have to be very, very careful using these type of systems. The high voltage pulse, this is something new. I don't think you have high voltage pulse here in the UK. It's a good thing. High voltage pulse is basically an electric shock to cause the fat cell to break down. It is horrible. If you're looking at each other, that's exactly how it feels, and more. So we'll just get through that one and hope it never comes here. Mesotherapy. Anybody do meso? And?
I use it for the face, but not for fat.
And you use it for microneedling with it? Yeah, and you like it?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
okay.
it's very-
on certain skin types, not
Yeah.
for everybody.
Yeah, you have to be careful on who you choose. Absolutely. That's where the Viva might come into a better option for you. You won't be using it like you will with meso. We're using it with serums and special things, but you will be using it on its own, and you can use the serums afterwards, certainly. So we're going to talk, like I had said, about blending services, and I might even call on you to give me some of your suggestions, because I now know what you're offering in your clinic. So neurotoxins. How many people offer neurotoxins here? You do? No?
We do.
You do?
Yes.
And are you pairing it with the Venus Freeze?
Currently, no, we're very new to Venus Freeze. It's only been on our portfolio since December.
Wonderful.
So we're very early days.
Wonderful. Now the slide behind me is going to tell me an awful lot, tell you guys an awful lot. Can you tell me when you think you would actually use neurotoxin when you're using the Venus Freeze? Anybody at this table? When is the best time to do it? When your patient comes in or at the end of a program? This table? 2 weeks before or after. I'm going to give you a suggestion. I'm going to tell you that I usually recommend it before. Do you know why I'd recommend it before, Anna? No? Yeah. Just like we were talking. Just like we were talking today about Botox. When you add a neurotoxin, you stop the muscles from making those movements, the animations, right? So sometimes when a patient comes to you and they say, the number one thing that bothers me is, you know, my furrows on my forehead. The second is the ones around my eyes. The third thing is my skin is kind of droopy. I look old, da-da-da. They give you a couple of words. The very first thing I do is I hit them with some neurotoxin. The reason is because if I stop those animations, the negative animations from moving, then I can come in with the Venus Freeze 2 weeks later and begin a Venus Freeze program to build up the collagen in those trough lines. It's not to say you can't do it after, you can, but if those animations are continually causing lines, it's very hard when they leave your clinic and they go home and they keep frowning at their husband and kids. They either have to get rid of the husband and kids, which is probably an expensive idea, or they have to get Botox, right? Those are your two options in life. My husband hates when I say that. It's true though. Soft tissue fillers. Anybody offer soft tissue fillers? I know you guys must. Anybody else? No? You guys do?
And the Botox as well.
And the Botox? And are you offering this with the freeze?
No, I didn't think it would go.
Oh.
We don't recommend it as such because we do Botox and fillers. We have a nurse that comes in and does it in our salon.
Yes.
And then we do the Venus. So, but now knowing what you've just told me, it will work differently.
Well, I'm going to tell you when I think that you should offer it and when I usually suggest it. We're going to take that same patient who comes in and I'm going to say to her, okay, we're going to start you on the neurotoxins like we said. 2 weeks later, I'm going to bring her in. I'm going to do her Venus Freeze series. And then at the very end, I'm going to use my 4 cc's or whatever cc's I've sold her of filler because I don't know where she's going to need it. When I first look at her, I might say she needs it in her nasolabial folds. She needs it around her tear trough area. She needs it maybe in her cheeks to give her some volume. But if I haven't done my series of Venus Freeze first, how am I going to know how much collagen is going to be built in her skin, right? She might respond dramatically, and then I've wasted that filler. So I'm going to do it at the end. I'm going to pre-sell her what I think she needs. So I'm going to pre-sell her 4 cc's or whatever. Usually, my cc's are usually 4 to 6 cc's of filler. And then I'm going to use it wherever she needs. I could maybe use it in her lips, which normally I might not have suggested because I didn't think that I'd have enough. I might be able to put it somewhere else, and I explain it to them that way. Make sense? You know, I might be able to adjust her nose, whatever.
Also, for those who come to your clinic with pad fillers, I always suggest that the filler is used to fill something, and we are working on the whole face, on the texture of the skin, on the glow, on the lifting, on the fine lines. So yes, even those that have had fillers, absolutely yes, freeze, because it's just going to complete the work of
Absolutely, and you know, in 2001, Thermage had done a study that you can find online with fillers, and they did it on soft tissue fillers to prove that all the hyaluronic acids, including also Radiesse and Sculptra, which are not hyaluronics, but that they couldn't break down the molecules and cause them to be damaged using any radio frequency. And they shot 450 watts, which you would never do, through the product, and they haven't been able to damage it. So they don't have to worry if they've already had filler coming to you, worrying about radio frequency melting it or causing it to move or whatever. I would just avoid it if it's a long-term filler. So, you know, any of the bioalchemeds or anything like that, I would avoid. I wouldn't touch them with anything, lasers or anything, just in case. But this is a good option for your patients as well. So fractional, now we're going to talk about Viva. So you can tie Viva into this. How many people offer fractional right now in their clinic? Microneedling, I know. Nobody else? You do microneedling? Microneedling would fall under this. Now if you're looking at the different types of fractionals and you're looking at basically removing any tissue whatsoever, you're talking about your chemical peels, then your microneedling, then you're getting into your fractional, then you're getting into your erbiums, your glasses, and then your CO2. So that's kind of the range that you would have available to you. CO2 meaning full ablation, and your chemical peels as being just epidermal. Sometimes a little bit of dermal, not much though. So that's kind of your range. Now with fractionals, you can add them in depending on, you know, what type of fractional you're doing. But since we're talking about microneedling in here, what you can do is you can do them in conjunction with the freeze. You can either do it a freeze treatment, let's say on a Monday, and then microneedling on a Wednesday, Thursday kind of thing. Like I'd leave a couple of days just for the tissue to begin healing and then do it. I wouldn't do it in the same day. And the reason I wouldn't do it the same day is if you did the microneedling first, your skin's obviously going to be too sensitive for the freeze. If you did the microneedling after, you're probably too red and might be a little too sensitive to the microneedling and you'll bleed because you've brought up the circulation, right, from the heat. So that's the last thing you'd want to do. Now, if you're using it with the Viva, what I would suggest you do is I would do the Viva first. I would go in with the fractional treatment first because the fractional treatment will not only help, the Viva will help with increasing collagen in the tissue. It's going to help with resurfacing. It's also going to help with some of the pigment as well. And that's something that we found is reducing the amount of negative pigment, as I'll say, in the tissue. So I would come in with those 3 treatments first, and then I would go through a series of venous freeze. It's just easier time-wise. And then, of course, you would draw out that map for your patients. So you'd start them off, neurotoxins. Then you would come in with your venous viva. Then you would come in with your venous freeze. Then you would come in with your filler. You see where I'm going with this? They need everything, I think. IPL. IPL. There must be some IPLs in the room. Yeah, I thought I'd see most of the hands in the room. Okay. Everybody loves their IPL, right? Live and die by it. So when do you think you would be doing IPL? Afterwards?
Well, we like to dip the skin as well before the venous freeze. So we started playing with a little bit of doing it before, during, and after.
And which do you prefer?
We can't really tell it. I think we're playing with that.
Personally, I prefer after.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? You're absolutely right. There is no right or wrong. You can do it during, you can do it before, you can do it after. That's the beauty of IPL. The only thing you can't do is don't do it on the same day. I did that, and I just got to say, she got a really good response in her IPL. It took a little while for those little brown spots to go away. So, but she had excessive freckling, and it was another nurse, and it was fine. So I didn't get, in trouble. But I wouldn't suggest you do it the same day. You can have it a day apart, but you can certainly either mix it in if somebody's got a crunch schedule and you want to do, a weekly kind of appointment with them and skipping between like that. It just gets a little cumbersome to remember. So if there's more than one practitioner in your practice, it's really hard to keep track of all the appointments, and you don't want to be giving anything away for free. And I've seen this before where I've gone into a practice and they'll say, I don't know what appointment she's on for a venous freeze. I don't know, like 12, 10, 8? I'm like, oh, wow, okay. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure that you really keep track of things. So it's better, I find, in a smaller practice to try and mix the two. Larger practices where there's multiple people doing the treatments, I like to keep it clean and just say, go through one program, then the next program, then the next program. And as long as you're walking all of your patients through the program and they understand where they're going, they'll love it. And you tell them this is exactly where we're going. So you're giving them a roadmap to look good. So medical peels. How many people in here do medical peels of any sort? TCAs, glycolics? You do them? You're smiling. You love them, right? And when would you add them with the venous freeze? Haven't done that. Okay. But after the seminar, everybody's getting everything, right? I'll give you my maintenance program at the end of this as well. You'll love it. So you can do them with it, and I really like peels, especially the ones that are, your microderm, so we could go as low as a microderm, but we can go as high as the medical grade ones. I'll start off with the microderm, and I believe that's in the next slide or the one after that, but the microderms I really like because they prep the skin for the energy. So, and a lot of you are nodding, it makes a lot of sense. You do the peel first, and you either wait and do it the next day if there's some sort of hydration to the peel, or there's some sort of serum that's left on, or you can do it the same day as long as there's not going to be any debris or any hydration left to the skin, because you want to be able to have the glycerin stick to the skin, right? So you can do it right away, and what it does is it removes the stratum corneum, a layer of it. So then the energy penetrates better. You'll have a better result. So I really do recommend that they do that. Now for chemical peels, depending on what level you're doing, you might have to wait anywhere from a week to 2 or 3 weeks. I did one that was a blend of Sal and TC, and the person, peeled for 2 weeks. So you want to wait. You don't want to be trying to move the freeze handpiece along, big chunks of skin being flaking off. Not fun. And you don't want them too sensitive either. But again, they're good to pair with it. And I would do that at the beginning. If you're doing a really strong one, do that at the beginning and then bring them through, because then they'll see the most visible result, rather than doing the freeze and then finishing up with a chemical peel. Okay, makes sense? Pre and post surgery, does anyone in here have either a surgical practice or someone they refer them to in here? No? No? Well, if you did, you could refer them to having it before, so it preps their skin and makes them look better when they go into surgery, because when you look better when you go into surgery, your result is obviously going to be better. And afterwards for healing. So if people come to you and they've had facelifts, tummy tucks, things like that, we found that we're treating them as early as 2 weeks post-operatively, as long as the doctor blesses them and lets them move on to treatments.
Again, we're talking about lifting that is lifting up, but we're working on the texture of the skin. So it, again, will complete the general look of the patient.
Absolutely, and some things like acne are not solvable through surgery, so it's very, very helpful. Now you were saying that you pair your skincare, so what do you do?
So what we're doing is recommending a facial before we start, and then
Can you all hear her?
Sorry. So I actually rent a room from somebody that sells a lot of different products, but they're all very good products. So that who's working in conjunction with each other, we'll have a recommended skincare program, and then we recommend when they finish the freeze, they have a facial as well. And then between the latest programs of the freeze, they'll maybe do alternative facials in the freeze, just to keep everybody happy. And we just say, people are investing in their skin. We've got projects that show anti-pigmentation and things like that, so we very much tie the projects in with treatments. Is that right, Lisa? Yeah.
Wonderful. Anybody else tie their products in with the Venus Freeze?
Yeah.
You do? What do you do?
I do keratin sort of muscle treatment facial, and I always do the Venus Freeze after.
Beautiful.
So I work on the muscles of the skin and then do the Venus Freeze to follow it.
That's wonderful, and if you're doing that, repositioning the muscles will really make a difference in their outcome as well. That's excellent. And you had your hand up as well.
Yeah, I use a lot of essential oils that are water and fat soluble. They go down to the dermis. At the end of the day, it is the blood that's got to get to your skin. So the client's got to keep on using that every day. It's no good doing 8 treatments of Venus Freeze, and then you've got to wait 2 months to have another facial perhaps. You need to be doing that at home.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. I'm a huge proponent of skincare. You absolutely need skincare, and I'll tell you why. It's because I've quite often seen this in practices and even in my own. I've noticed that what happens is you have a client come to you and they have an issue with their skin, let's say rosacea, and now you've got these great treatments that you know work. She comes back in and she looks just as bad. It's not you, it's what she's doing at home. So that old saying, you know, when someone breaks up with you and says, it's not you, it's me. It's you. It is you. It's all you. It's what you do at home. So what I tell them is I say that it's very, very important that you use our skincare that I'm recommending because I need to control what you're doing at home. If I can control what you're doing at home, then I can assume the outcomes that we're going to get, and I know where we're going. I'm not asking you to throw all your products out. I'm not asking you to donate them to charity. If you want, you can. But I'm asking you to just put them away for now. And you know that they're going to get hooked on your stuff because you love it and it's good. So just ask them to put it away and ask them to use what you're asking them to use, your recommendations, so then you can control their outcomes. And it's kind of a softer way than, you know, somebody comes in and says, I use Dove and that's all I'm using. You know, you got something on your hands there, so you have to explain why. So I told you I'd give you my maintenance program. So this is my maintenance, and I'm going to tell you I actually do this. And some of you may not believe me, but I really do this. Once a month, you do your microderms, your facials, your cellulite treatments, whether that's Venus Freeze or it's something else. I'm waiting to see if anyone corrects me on that. No? Cellulite treatments. Now, Venus Freeze you're doing, what's the maintenance? What's maintenance? Ooh, crickets. Once every 3 months is your maintenance, one treatment. But in the case of cellulite, I actually recommend it once a month. And the reason is because cellulite it's chronic. Yeah. I actually do my Venus Freeze treatments myself, on myself, because nobody else can. Yeah, I know, no time, I just do it on myself. I do them once a month because all of the results are compounded. So if you do a treatment in January, you see the full results 2 to 3 months later. February, 2 to 3 months later. So you can see the road that I'm going down. By the time December comes and Christmas comes, those Christmas parties, I look pretty good. So that's why I do it. So you're doing your cellulite treatments, and of course you're doing your home skincare every month. Now what I call once a quarter, which is every 3 or 4 months, you're going to be doing your IPL, you're going to be doing your fractional treatments, your body contouring, your laser hair removal. Now once every year, bi-yearly, you're doing your neurotoxins, your soft tissue filler, and your Viva fractional. Your Viva Fractional you only need to do twice a year after you've done a full series, just to maintain any of the results that you've achieved. Does anybody know how to explain maintenance to patients who say, I had all these treatments and I shouldn't have to maintain it?
Aging. We can't use the gym analogy.
Okay.
So you go to the gym and you go non-stop every 2-3 times a week for 3 months. You look fantastic. As soon as you stop, one week you know, some pizzas, you will revert back.
Perfect.
So you need to maintain.
Absolutely, that's beautiful. It's a nice way of explaining it. I tell my patients, I'll say, absolutely, you don't need any maintenance whatsoever as long as you stop aging. And then they look at me, I'm like, okay, the minute you leave here, you're going to continue aging. So the only way that I can keep up with your aging process is to keep up with maintenance. Everything you do, whether it's a blade or it's a laser or a device or a needle, takes maintenance, no matter what, because you're going to continue aging. We haven't found that gene yet to stop it, even if you are doing the telomere thing. So that means that we have to keep up with maintenance. With maintenance, this is what we suggest for maintenance. And then what you take out of this is up to you, and obviously would be to your practice. But this is definitely something that I let my patients know right up front when they come in with the program, so that I'm not trying to backtrack. They don't feel like I'm a salesperson. They understand that I'm doing this to make them look good. That's all I care about. I just want you to look great. I want you to feel great.
Can I just ask, the Venus Viva Fractional, is it instead of microneedling, or is it similar? Is it wound healing?
It's still wound healing, but with the microneedling, and I would actually replace the microneedling with it, even though microneedling is a little different. It doesn't go as deep. The wound is not as deep. But the microneedling, the thing is that there's so many different variables to it, meaning pressure and how you're applying it, and like I was saying, is missing areas or areas of overlap, that this is just going to replace that and make it so much easier. And you can use this, as Anna was saying, as least ablative as you like. So you can almost mimic that. A little bit stronger, but almost mimic that of needling, and then save yourself all the time and the heartache.
So the downtime is shorter, is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You're not, with microneedling, you have a lot of little pinpoint blood. With this, you're not going to get that as often. I sometimes do get it, but not as often, as certainly on the less ablative side. When I'm using my lowest settings, I don't get it as often. And you'll find that your patients are more tolerant to it than microneedling. It depends on your patient base whether or not they're tolerant to the microneedling. But I find a lot of people, you know, the tears start and the, you know, you know what I mean? Absolutely. And the size of the head of the microneedle, some of them have been really good. Some of the companies made them very small, but some of them are quite large. And I'm thinking, wow, you must be doing abdomens or something with that, because this is not going to fit on my upper lip. You know? So this is going to fit in much more smaller spots too. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about marketing. That was one of the reasons why they flew me over here, was to talk about marketing. How many people in here love marketing for their practice? Yeah, I didn't think so, right? It's not the funnest part of our job. Let's just treat and not have to do anything, right? It'd be much better. But how many people in here personally have had a venous freeze treatment? Oh, you guys are better than North America. You should see everybody's like, oh, we're too busy. It's really hard to sell something to a patient and recommend it if you've never had it yourself and felt it. You know, and I've gone into clinics before and had them say, oh, it feels kind of warm. It feels like, and you can tell they're describing it like the brochure. You really have to have a first-hand experience with it. And it's very powerful when you can say, somebody says to me, oh yeah, well, do you have it? And I'll say, absolutely, once a month. Not a part of me that I haven't treated. It's unequivocal, right? So if you look good, you feel good, you use the product, they're going to want to do it. I'm not saying that you should have some of the services that maybe you don't need, obviously. And don't go out and have your lips injected just because, you know, you have Angelina Jolie lips and you want them bigger and think that your customers will love it. Just make sure that you do have a little bit of a taste of all the services that you offer. It's very, very important, so you can speak from experience. Patient marketing. How many people in here have actually read the brochures from Venus Freeze? Honestly. Well, that's a pretty good show of hands. Those who didn't have their hands up, I want you to pick up a brochure and read it, please, because your patients are sitting in the waiting room and they're reading it, and then they come in and ask you a question, and you look at them a little blank, and this is for all of your brochures. They look at you a little, you look at them a little blank, and you don't really know what to say because you didn't know that was in the brochure. That doesn't look good. So you want to make sure that you're always using the same verbiage. You also want to visit all the websites for all of the products. Start Googling the products you have, because that's what your patients are doing. They're Googling them all, and they're seeing what other people are seeing and what other people are saying. So when somebody comes to you and says, oh, I read that you can't treat people who have ... using ... you can say, actually, that's incorrect. I saw that as well, ... And you can come back with something. But you really have to make sure that you're on the ball with these things. It does take some research, but it's something to do in between patients, right? Do a little Google search. You'd be surprised what comes up, too. It's amazing, right? Silent marketing. So, silent marketing, I've gone into a lot of waiting rooms, and I found that they have out all the brochures. How many people have out all their brochures for every product they have in their waiting room? Oh, you guys are pretty good. The reason that I don't suggest it, actually, is because when you have everything on display in the waiting room, what happens is when you go into an office, people sort of look around and they see all this stuff and they don't pick up any of it because they don't know what it is. They don't understand it. So I have a slightly different way of marketing. And this is going to sound a little strange because coming from Venus Concept, I'm going to tell you not to have Venus Concept out in your waiting room every single month. Because it's just like driving home. You don't see the signs on the side of the road anymore, right? Until one day somebody points it out to you and you go, oh, that's changed. I didn't even notice. I just drive home. You start blanking it out. So what you want to do is each month, just take all the posters, let's say from Freeze. You want to put them out in the waiting room. You want to put out all of the brochures. You want to put up all the signage. You want to take your picture frame, your automatic picture frame, put all the before and afters from Venus Freeze up there. And be really excited about Venus Freeze. Every time somebody calls in, oh, did we tell you about Venus Freeze this month? And that catches people off guard, right? Then the next month, you're going to take all that stuff out and put it in some treatment room and put everything else out from another product or service that you're offering. It makes it fresh, keeps your treatment room fresh, your waiting room fresh. It keeps your treatment rooms fresh because you're constantly moving stuff around. It's going to make them ask questions. And it's also repetition. In marketing, everything's about repetition. So you know when you go through, let's say Chatelaine, and then you go through Flair, then you go through Vogue, and you see the same ad over and over again, you actually remember what it is. The reason you remember what it is, and the reason that they don't have a different ad for every single magazine, is this repetition. Your brain will remember it once it sees it at least 3 times. So for it to see it 3 times, it has to be in at least 3 different spots in the waiting room. Now if you have 10 different services and you put everything in 3 different spots in the waiting room, you know what the waiting room would look like? It would look like this. And this is actually not too bad, considering. So try that. If you get sort of bored of your decor rather than replacing the sofas and the pillows, try and replace some of the signage and really rotate it around. And you'll notice that there's a lot more influence for your patients to be asking about those services. Because now all of a sudden, even though it's not new to you, it's new to them. So spreading the word. How many people in here do email blasts? How do you find them? Iffy, yeah, iffy. I just went through a whole thing on my computer. You probably don't need to know this, but I just unsubscribed to everything. I was so fed up. Just took a whole day. It's just frustrating, right? And somebody over here had their hand up. You do email blasts? How do you find them?
We do them once a month. We tend to get bookings from them.
Nice.
Not as many as we like, but we do get a response, definitely.
Yeah. I don't mind email blasts, and certainly, you know, if you're getting a response from it, it's good. Try and do them no more than once a month, or you'll end up with somebody like me who hates it, especially if you get a lot of email. But don't rely on solely email blasts. Now, I'm sort of an old-fashioned girl. I like mail. I don't like mail every month. But I like mail when I'm not expecting mail. So don't send me something at Valentine's Day. Don't send me something at Christmas. Don't send me something at New Year's. Who cares? Everyone else does it. It goes in the trash. But if you send it at different times than everybody else, it actually gets noticed. Because you don't get anything in the mail anymore, except bills. Nobody gets mail. So it's nice to get something that's either a postcard or a letter that's addressed specifically to them, giving them a promotion. And you can do it at off months. So March, April, not too bad. May, Mother's Day.
We do a quarterly news method, don't we? Just saying what's going on in the salon, new treatments that are coming in.
When do you mail them?
We do it quarterly, so we do spring, summer, autumn and winter.
Good. And you like them? They're doing
Yeah,
well?
the clients always comment.
Yeah.
And there'll be a little voucher or something at the bottom of it, or
A call to action of some
Yeah.
sort? Absolutely. Those are very important. Newsletters are good. It's good to feature staff as well. I like to feature staff in any newsletters. You know, we're working on a Venus Concept newsletter, so that's going to be kind of fun for all of us. Add Venus Freeze to your website. And the reason you want to do that is because when I go on Google as a customer and I go da-la-la-la, and actually I'm in the UK now and my computer knows I'm in the UK. When I was Googling Indian restaurants last night, it came up with a bunch of Indian restaurants in the UK, not all ones in Canada. Thank goodness, because I wouldn't have found my way. But it came up with that. So if somebody's Googling, Google will actually know exactly where you're located and will come up with those ones. And we've also come up with ways of optimizing our website, so then it comes up with ours and yours. So by doing that, you're linking it to ours. So you want to do that. You want to add us on all your social media, and I've got a little special thing here to talk about social media in a bit. But you want to add us to all your social media. There is never a point in time, and I work very closely with the social media department, and there's never a time that we will post something on there, like a special, a promotion you're not part of, pricing, anything like that. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll come on and I'll do a frequently asked question, but it's one that you should already know, like one of our contraindications or anything like that. Or it might be, you know, sun protection and Venus Freeze, something like that. But it's never going to be anything that's going to be detrimental to your practice. In fact, it will help you out. And a lot of our practices have found that these little social media blurbs have helped them out. So you want to add us to your Facebook and follow us. You also want to see what your customers are seeing because they're on there. So you want to see what they're seeing. There's also in the Download Center, which everyone should have access to here, Anna. Do you know? Download Center? We have a Download Center.
Yeah, on the website.
Yeah. There's phone scripts, and I'm updating the Download Center all the time with new things. I just did on the flight over here with some new things. And so I give you some ideas of phone scripts for your front desk staff to use. And it's a really good idea. And I thoroughly suggest having a friend call in and do a secret shop, because it's amazing what you hear your front desk say. At one of my workshops, what I did is I took the list of people that were coming and I did a secret shop of all of them. And I was a little horrified at the front desk staff. And of course, they were all quiet when I said, I did a secret phone shop, and everyone went quiet. I said, wow, what a way to make a room go quiet. So I do suggest you do a secret shop just to make sure your front desk staff knows, because we always forget about them, and they're really important that they understand and know all of our services, that they've had them, that they've experienced them, and they can answer questions. So I'm going to play a little video here for you. This is actually pretty cool. Some of you may have already seen it. So how many people on here are on Facebook? Don't worry, I won't search you out and hunt you down. Okay, how many people are on here professionally on Facebook? Wonderful. And how have you found your Facebook for your business?
It's not this business.
Mm-hmm.
We're pretty poor really, but no, we haven't.
It's okay. You had your hand up, right? And what are you doing for promoting on Facebook and Twitter and?
We've just started it, but we find it's a good way of networking, finding more people, friends of friends of friends.
Friends of friends of friends. And what kind of posts do you post?
We've just posted a Valentine's one with a 25% discount for his and hers and stuff.
Nice.
We'll see how it runs. That's our first one we're going to run.
Wonderful. And you guys too. Somebody had their hand up? Yeah? Yeah? And what kind of posts do you do?
I did some before and after pictures.
Very nice. I don't know if you heard that before and after pictures.
I found personally my Twitter account is all business to business,
Mm-hmm.
and my Facebook are mostly all my friends, or friends of friends, as opposed to real clients. Getting real clients to sign up to either of them, even though it's linked from our website, it seems very hard.
I'm going to give you some tips.
I've just started my Facebook
Mhm.
page, and obviously I've got my personal Facebook, and what I was going to do to try and speed it up a gear was do a like and share for a whole free course, and when I got to 500 likes and shares, I would give away on one area a free course
Very
to
nice.
try and get that circling around the net.
Absolutely. One big thing is to go on. Does everyone in here know what a QR code is?
Yeah.
It's that little scanner thing. Some people are actually getting these as tattoos. That's a whole other subject, but I think that's a little weird. Somebody can come by and scan the back of your neck or something. I don't even want to get into that. Isn't that strange? It's very strange. So, I mean, I guess that's dating on a whole other level, right? Let me QR you. That's going to be the new thing of the next generation. So one thing I do suggest is you get a QR code. You can do the QR code generators. They're free and they're very easy to do. I promise you. Generate a QR code, leave it on your front desk. It says join us on Facebook. They can scan it and it will go right to their, everybody has a smartphone today, except of course my husband who still has a flip phone. Can you believe it? He's the only person who hasn't joined this generation. And he's very proud of it too, and it's silver. It's one of those silver Motorola ones. It's hilarious. It's hilarious going anywhere with him. So what social media is good? What you need to do is narrow down what your audience is. So don't go on Snapchat and things like this. There's all sorts of them out there. Don't go on those if those are not what your patients are joining and looking at. And if you want to know, get a panel of your patients together and ask them. But the top ones are obviously for our industry. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. You know, sometimes LinkedIn, it depends. I like YouTube a lot. Anybody here have a YouTube? And what do you do?
We've had videos for other of our treatments.
Mm-hmm.
They've been popular.
You know, one thing I do with YouTube that's really fun is you just take your iPhone or your smartphone and you film little things like how to cleanse your skin properly, how to use a particular product at home. I use it a lot for skincare. And you can send those links to your patients. And you can also just post them on your Facebook, so then they get to see it. They get to see your staff as well. And the thing about seeing your staff is they get to know the person. A lot of people, maybe not here, but a lot of people when I travel throughout North America walk up to me and say, "Hey Trace, how's it going?" And I have no idea who they are. They've seen me on YouTube. They've seen me on videos. So they know me. They don't know me, but they know me. There's a relationship there. So oftentimes that makes them more comfortable when they get in the treatment room if they've already seen them. And I promise you, it's one of the #1 channels to look for is anything that says Venus Freeze. It's one of the #1 right now. So when they start Googling on YouTube or YouTubing the Venus Freeze, your channel will come up with whatever you have on there. How do you do a treatment? Why do you do a treatment? Those kind of things. It also will mitigate some of the frequently asked questions. And you can have a playlist that says frequently asked questions. It will mitigate those. Now I've gone ahead and done some of them for you if you look at our YouTube channel, but certainly you can make up some of your own as well as patient testimonials, which is huge. So I love YouTube. I think it's great. And like I said, it gives you fresh content that you can keep posting. Now with Facebook and Twitter, people are usually at a loss. They don't know what to say on there. Now, for daily use, you know, you might want to post some fun stuff. I went to an Indian restaurant last night, you know, stuff like that. Who cares, really? Nobody. Nobody does. Maybe Anna cares because she's with me right now. Nobody else really cared that I ate Indian food last night. Neither do you, I know. But what you might care about is promotions that are happening, but I'm not huge on posting promotions all the time because people will just stalk your Facebook and Twitter to see when they can get a promotion. They also want information. So quite often they're looking for what's new, what's hot. So that's where you have to start following all the industry stuff. You have to follow all of the industry news. What's new? It doesn't have to be something you offer. Just what's new in anti-aging, what's new in looking great, what's new in fashion. You know, that's part of our world. Even the Grammys. That was pretty big news what people are wearing. And interact with them. People forget what social media is. I find this very funny because I have a lot of people on my Facebook account and they'll say, oh, I saw your post, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, why didn't you comment on it? Oh, I don't comment on anything. I just watch. I'm like, you know what, that's creepy. That is a stalker. So you are my stalker. This is social media. You have to interact with me. That is your job as part of my social networking world. Interact with me. So interact with your people. And you know, my former boss has an email. And so, you know, we email back and forth. But quite often on social media, he comments on things. Because it comes up, Spa Medica Canada, on my feed. He's not stupid. He's the king of social media. And he knows that everybody in my world sees that. And that's why he does that. And that's what you want to do. You want to comment on the relative things. Don't comment on, you know, some strange things like I had Indian food last night, who cares? But you want to comment on things that are neat. So maybe they post a picture of themselves. Maybe they're going to post something about traveling or going on vacation. All of their friends see whatever you've commented on. So those are the things. You have to start interacting. Ask them questions. What did you think of J-Lo's dress at the Grammys? You know, those kind of things. Last minute, sometimes, once every couple of months, post that you have an opening at 2 o'clock today in your schedule. And that appointment is 50% off on whatever they want to book. Every now and again, don't do it very often, once every 2-3 months. You know what? It stimulates them to start thinking, oh, I better start following this. I better start looking and watching what's going on because I might get a discount. I might get something free. So every now and again, throw in some sort of little freebie or special on there. But don't inundate it with just special, 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 special. People will stop following you. And once they've stopped following you, even though they're part of your list of people, they can stop subscribing to your feed. And then you've lost them for good because they'll never add you again. I have people like that I just went, oh, I am so sick of hearing about this. And just, you know, you stop listening to them. So make sure that you're socializing. Now on Twitter, and you're right, you're going to have different sects of people. So, you know, for instance, myself, on Twitter are all my fitness people. On Facebook are all of my industry people and friends. And then LinkedIn is heavily industry people. So each one of those is going to be different. So not necessarily are you going to want to do the same posts. Now, I've made a decision to do a tree. And I'm going to tell you what a tree is. A tree is when you post on one thing, it goes to everything else. But I have a one-way tree. So when I post something on LinkedIn, I know it goes to my professional network. So I didn't post about my Indian dinner last night. I'm going to post about today's seminar. That's going to go to Twitter and it goes to Facebook. Because there are some people on Twitter that are my professional network and there's many on Facebook. And everybody on LinkedIn is professional. So I know that that's a message I can send to everybody. On Twitter, I might just post something that talks about my workout or a competition I'm going into. And that goes to Twitter and it goes to Facebook. But it doesn't go to LinkedIn because I don't need it to go there. So it's a one-way path. On Facebook, I post about my Indian dinner because who cares? Those are my friends. Those are some people in my network, but it's not the vast majority of people. So you can do that and you can choose to have a tree when you look at your social media. Decide what comes first, what goes second, what goes third. It's going to save you time when you're posting. So you're not going from here to here to here to here to here and posting over and over again or cut and paste. And God forbid it doesn't cut and paste right. I've seen that before. Not so good. And then of course with your YouTube, you're just going to have to post the link in whatever you're going to be sending. Okay? So here are some other things that you want to remember. Yes. No hands up, just shout out.
It's just adding that you are all very busy, but most of you have girls sitting at the reception updating their own Facebook. Now get them to update your practice Facebook. Get them to make the phone calls. Get them to check on YouTube. Get them to, I mean, it often happens that you go into clinics, I mean I do, and they're there on their own Facebook, on their own Twitter. Get the girls to work for your practice. I mean, it's wasted time and you're busy. I mean, and you're not going to start, I mean, if you have time, yes, but if you're going to go start scrolling through everything, it's going to be a lot of time. You've got people, you've got staff that can do it. So, just a little tip. I mean, I don't know, say this once a week or a couple of hours a day, don't use your Facebook. You're only going to use the practice's Facebook.
Absolutely. You can have several people in your practice doing that as well. Just make sure they all coordinate. So there's a group of us that actually do a lot of posts for Venus Concept, and I'm one of them. Now when I'm on the road, obviously I'm not doing them, but they know that I'm going to post something about being here. So they're not going to post anything, my team. They know that we work together as a team. They know I'm going to be posting about the UK. So they post other interesting things. I'll leave the UK stuff up to me. You know, when my colleague was just recently away in Italy, and he went ahead and posted on there. So it's a group of us that kind of do it together, but we all know, and there's some unspoken stuff, but some spoken stuff, but we know and we work together. So if you've got a clinic and you've got several people doing it, just make sure that you don't have 2 or 3 feeds all at once, because they come through in everyone's feed back to back, and it just, you know, it's not appealing. You want to post maybe once or twice a day. I wouldn't post more than that. I have a couple of clinics that I see on there, and I'm sort of gasp when I see that they're doing it every hour. I think you either have a social media person or you're not very busy. Whatever it is, it's not good. It's not good to have that in your feed, especially if the person who subscribed to you isn't as busy and they have like 50 friends. Then they're going to see your feed, your feed, your feed, your feed, your feed. It's not good, right? So Venus freezes in the media. Whenever we have a media appearance, or you have any other technology that has a media appearance, you want to make sure that you post that and you don't lose that opportunity. You want the link to that. It's very, very important. And if it appears in a magazine, it appears on TV, even if it's a channel that you don't get, even if it's something you don't get, it's always available on the web. So make sure that they can see it and make sure they know. And I guarantee they'll probably find it anyway. So you're better off having the link to it up there and making sure that, that they get to see it. How many people in here have done these traditional type of promotions? Mother's Day, Valentine's Day. I know everyone. Is everyone doing a Valentine's Day thing? Because I have a Valentine's slide here. Valentine's Day, I'm so over Valentine's Day, right? So sick of the red. Apparently that's the color of the year, red. Red python shoes is what you're supposed to get. So that should be on your list for Valentine's Day, red python shoes. So these all work, but they're kind of, you know, they're boring, right? Everybody does them. So I'm going to come up with some different things for you that you might think are kind of cool. The first is philanthropy. I'm not going to suggest that you take all the profits and proceeds from your business and donate them to charity. It'd be lovely if you did, and very nice of you, but who's in business to give away all our money, right? What I do suggest you do is if you have a team member or you're doing something as a group that is philanthropical, I want you to post it or at least show it, either on your Facebook, your Twitter, on a poster at the front of your reception, just to let people know what you're doing, so then they understand that you're very responsible to your community and that you're contributing. It just lets them know that you're human beings. You know, Venus Concept, we did a run for HIV and in our office, and we all got together and did a photo of it and collected money from, you know, our prospective clients and things. And it was really nice. It was really nice to do together. And we did put that all over the media, and it wasn't just for show. It was because we wanted to show people that, hey, we're people too, and these are things that we care about. So if it's something you care about, you know, the animal shelter, the women's shelters, things like that, people love seeing that stuff, and they love to know that you're human beings. Just don't make it controversial. How many people in here do birthday promotions? What do you do?
We use the system which just sends them out to email. We can just do a filter, marketing filter.
Mm-hmm.
It just picks out whatever someone's birthday falls in the month. is a voucher. It's a nominal sum, but it's just a nice way of saying happy birthday during this night. You should not say that.
Beautiful. Anybody else?
Yeah, we did something. Yeah.
Same thing? Everybody else doesn't care about birthdays, so we don't age.
And they all use it. The system, it's £5 or £10. The system is all filtering for you, so you don't have to sit and troll through.
Yeah, trolling through it. The thing about birthdays is you have to make sure that it's always consistent. So I'll give you an example is that I've had offices before that have missed birthdays, and then the patients get very upset, they feel offended, or the person has written their birthday down wrong. I don't know how many of you have done this. And I get birthday messages on different months because I don't always write down my birthday month. I don't always, because you know what, I really don't like it. And I don't like it, it's sort of like an identity theft thing for me. And so I get birthday wishes all year round. It's actually quite nice. However, it's obviously not, it's a fail-proof system, right? So there are some things like that that are going to happen. I like to give something that isn't of charge. And I'm going to tell you why. And it does work to give discounts and nominal amounts, but there's also another train of thought. Is if I invited you to my home for your birthday, and I said, I want you to come over, we're going to spend the night together, we're going to celebrate, and I want you to bring the food and the wine. What are you going to say, right? It's your birthday. It's the same idea. I don't like when people make me spend money on my birthday. A lot of people are like that, so the ones you're missing might be that reason. So what you can do is you can give them still that nominal amount, but then give them a little gift that they come in and get, whether it's going to be a little sample thing, and all of us love samples, right? You know when you get a little gift bag, because it's something, and tell them that they're getting that, because they're getting something for free. It's a little sample bag is nice. Plus, you might get some sales out of the sample bag, you never know. It's just a nice way of rewarding them, and it's something that they're getting for free. But just make sure you're consistent with your birthdays. Very, very important. Valentine's Day, we already talked about that. Nice to sort of have candles and have an evening where everyone comes in. Don't make it Valentine's Day, because that would really suck for a Valentine's Day, right? Come into the spa and hang out with me. So you want to make sure that you have couples come in. Maybe it's a day that's a week before Valentine's Day or a week after, and they can come in and spend the day together, you know, and make it very romantic setting. And women, we influence our men, right? So if you want to increase your male population in your clinic, in your practice, in your spa, then that's the easiest way. Because then we'll say, hey, you know, you could use a little bit of help, just saying. You know, that's gentle, isn't it? Mother and daughter. I did some mother and daughter promotions, and this is really powerful. How many people have done a mother and daughter promotion? And how did you find it?
Yeah, very well.
It's very, very rewarding, isn't it?
That's around Mother's Day as well.
It's very nice to do those. And sometimes I say a Saturday, Sunday, but if that's your busiest day in your clinic, then please don't do that. Do it on a day that's not going to be busy. And just have them come in and they can purchase together, 2-for-1s, you know, half price, those kind of things. Offer everything in 2s. You know, it's a very, very nice day to have. We came up with the concept of a freeze teenie, and I'm sure, Anna, we have to work on this mixology together of what the freeze teenie would have in it. Lots of research. But what we like to do is, we were talking about girls' nights, and my colleagues and I were talking about what we would do for a girls' night. One of them would be to serve drinks that would be related to every single type of treatment we do. Now, the big caveat to this is nobody gets treated if they've had alcohol. Because the last thing you want is, number one, a response that's off, especially not so much with the freeze, but with other injectables and things. Number two, you don't want anyone to come back and say they felt coerced or pressured or anything like that. So the easiest way to control that is that everybody comes in and gets a name tag and the name and time of their treatment. So it would say Tracy, and it would say freeze, 4 o'clock. The minute I'm done with my treatment, this badge comes off and I can drink. If I have a badge on, I don't get a drink. So it's one way to control it, rather than saying, do you have an appointment? Do you, you know, if you have a lot of people coming in for your open house. But girls' nights are fun, and we always encourage our friends to have everything done. So if you have an opportunity to have one, it's wonderful. How many people in here have a heavy male base? You have quite a few? And how did you attract them to your practice?
I don't actually know. I think because I started off having quite a lot of guys as clients, and they talk to each other.
And that's a very true thing. I'll tell you that with my practice back in Canada, I had a very huge male population, and I chose that. I decided to do that because I got to tell you, even though, and I'm sorry for the men in the room, you guys are a little bit of babies having treatments, but you're the best clients because you do what we tell you to do. You don't go to the Clinique counter because there's a special, a 2-for-1. You don't use a cream that your girlfriend told you is good. You don't stop doing treatments because you got to take the kids to ballet. You do what you're told, and you don't question it. And I always get the results I want with a man. So I love males to bring them in. Now, to bring them in, they always tell each other about services, but they're not going to be telling them about products and things like that. They're just going to say, I go see Tracy, you got to see her. She's really good. End of story. And then his buddy comes to see you, and that's it. It's very simple. Having a boys' night, when you have, and it really has to be boys' night, by the way. Girls are checked at the door. I don't care if she's chained to you, then you have to stand outside with one arm, but she's not coming in. Boys' night is meant as just focusing on men, focusing on their treatments, focusing on their questions. You'll get through this night on time. Unlike a girls' night that will go on till midnight, men will shop differently. Men come in, they have the service they need, they get the products they need, they chat to a few friends and they leave. It's lovely. It's lovely. I love guys. You guys are the best. Guys are the best. What we did is we were playing around with this and we came up with these packages. I wouldn't necessarily say that you need to call them all after cars. That was my guys' ideas. But you can call the packages fun names and things like that. Big key here, no guys allowed, no girls allowed. Business to business. How many people have tried business to business? What do you do?
It's something that was set up in where we are from in Enfield by a lady. It's called Love Your Doorstep. Okay. And it's really hard to explain. She's all over Facebook. She does it as a business. All the local businesses help each other, use each other. And
Nice.
It's to keep the businesses all up and running in the local area.
Mhm.
And we buy from local.
Beautiful.
So Tessa's, our boss, is having the refurb done in the salon next month, and she's using all local sources, all local businesses.
Isn't that lovely?
Like that. And that's how it is. That's how we do it.
That's lovely.
It's fantastic, isn't it, for the salons? Yeah.
That's lovely. Well, some of the business to business that I've done that has been successful has been going to some of the larger banks, some of the larger law firms that would have an HR department, so a human resources department. As part of being hired in a human resources driven company, one of the things they usually give you is a package. So it's an employee package of benefits. You get a discount at Gap, you get, your tires done at Jiffy Lube, whatever. You get all these nice little perks for being part of a company. And one of them can be feeling good and looking good, having services from X, Venus Freeze included, and all these things. So they would get a specific discount for being an employee. So they'd have to come in with their business card. But it's usually included as part of their package of being employed. And the nice thing is that you'll have a continual stream of people coming through. And like I said, they have to be larger, they have to have an HR department. And I actually have the templates for the letters and things like that you would send them to get an appointment. You usually have to meet with the HR department, sit down with them, explain what your services are. They look good, they feel good. When people look good and feel good, they produce more work. They're better employees, those kind of things. So they aren't tax deductible services or insurance covered services, but they are services that they're having anyway, and it's nice that they would frequent you because they're an employee of Lloyd's Bank or whatever it is. I've had a little less success with some of the fitness clubs if they're big box, but if they're exclusive fitness facilities, then they know their clients very well and they can recommend the services. The big box gyms, there's so many people coming and going and the staff come and go, they have no idea who their clients are, right? It's a little harder. Open houses. Now, everybody in here has had an open house, right? And what have you done for your open house?
We've used it with skincare and things like that.
Skincare?
I haven't got my Venus Freeze yet. And I've done it for the Ellipse as well.
Wonderful. And did you have it in an evening or on the weekend? In an evening? Anybody have it on a weekend? No? Evenings are more popular here? Okay, and you guys had one? And what did you feature?
What did last time? We've done a Saturday and we've done evenings. The Saturday worked really, really well actually.
Wonderful.
I was always really hesitant about doing it because it's a very busy day, but
It is.
it really paid dividends. Yeah.
Wonderful. And did you have services being done or was it just an open house?
We had services done. We leave people wearing
own clinic at different times. There's different things going on, and people could move on so they weren't getting bored and nodding off. And if they wanted to stay and chat, they could, or they could move on. And then we have time slots as well. So
Wonderful.
We had a constant stream. That worked very well.
One little thing that we did that was fun at one open house is I went to all the different reps from the different companies that were going to be there, and I asked them to provide me with 2 questions about their device or their treatment that they had. And the patients, what they had to do is go around to each one of the little centers and watch, like a little bit of a venous freeze treatment. And they had 2 questions to answer. The idea was at the very end of this, they could put their name in for a draw, and the draw was for a massive prize of a $5,000 service. The idea was they had to go to every single stop and listen. It forced them to do this because they had to answer the little questionnaire. There was only like 15 questions or 18 questions, something like that. And it was yes and no, you know, multiple choice kind of thing. It was very easy. But it's one way to get your customers to go through, is to give them a raffle, but they have to do something for it, not just show up. Now, when you have an open house, the other thing is if you have a lot of customers that are like myself that travel or have children, it's difficult for them to come. So you must have another option for them that day that they can either call in or they can go on the web and see your specials, because you're not going to reveal your specials until the day of course. You're just going to say there's promotions and specials and things. But you want to make sure that there's an option for them to be able to purchase online, if that is the case. Not everything, only some. So ambassadors, how many people here know what an ambassador is? Can anybody guess? This table back here, you've been so quiet and you just keep sitting there very quietly. So now I'm going to pick on you because it's near the end. So, know what an ambassador is?
A figurehead promoting a brand or anything?
Absolutely, it's very close. It's actually somebody who is screaming your name loud and proud. So they're saying, I go to clinic da-da-da-da-da and have all of my services done. And it's self-promotion. They do it, they don't do it because they want anything. They do it just because they love you, they love your services. And that's what's really important. These people you want to reward and you want to keep track of. So the things that you can do is to keep track of these people, you want to make sure that anytime they refer someone on to you, you reward them and you reward the person who's coming to them. So it's a different concept. It's rewarding both ways. And the reason that you reward both ways is you want to make sure that those people that they're being referred to are getting a reward, so they come in, and they're getting rewarded as well for being part of your ambassador club. You know, you want to make sure of that. It's very, very important that you reward both ways. Now, things that you can do, you can send them thank you cards with little gift certificates. You can give them those little samples that we talked about for the birthdays, same idea. Anytime that anything is new, they're the first people that you get your reception who are just sitting there checking their Facebook. You get them to call. That's what's really important, to make sure that they're the first people, because they're the people who are screaming your name loud and proud. Now, the thing about these programs is they work, but you have to be really careful, because if I have a network of 10 friends and they're all using service X and I get bad service, what do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to probably go on social media like I did with Air Canada, and I'm going to complain about such and such, because we can. And all our friends know because they know who I'm talking about. So you should be very careful. Your service has to be spot on, bang on, consistent all the time. You can't give one person bad service because it's going to spread through the network that you've created. So be very careful and make sure consistency is the name of the game when you do this. So, one thing that I ask doctors all the time, I always say, what's your retention? And look at me. Some of them will be smart and say, I don't retain water. But I ask them how many times they can tell me that a patient will come back to their practice. If they come back, do you have 100% retention? They'll say, you know what, I'm busy. We're busy all the time, so 100% of my patients come back. I'll go to a clinic and I'll say, do you know if your customers are returning and purchasing skincare again? All the time. We're very busy. We sell a lot. And that's not an answer. I want to know what percent is. And what a normal percent is between 70 to 80% of your customers should be returning. Those are the number that you should be aiming for. What's realistic and what's happening in the market, whether it's going to be North America, it's going to be Asia, it's going to be South America, is somewhere around 50 to 60. Now, I worked in one of the biggest practices in North America, And the physician I worked for, not telling any tales out of school here, he says the same things during his workshops. He was busy, so busy we may as well have put a rotating door on the practice because there were so many people coming through. And I said to him, how many people do you think actually come back? And he looked at me like I had 6 heads and said, everybody. I said, really? Okay. Well, let's do a little analysis of this. And we analyzed how many people were actually coming back by pulling a bunch of patient files. And we found out horrifically it was somewhere around 40%. And this is in a busy practice. We spent tons of money on marketing, tons, 20, 30,000 a month in marketing. And we thought, wow, could we cut this out? Could we stop doing all this if we retain the patients we had? We knew we had a good product, good service. Where were our patients going? What was happening? So we started asking questions, and we started asking our patients, why are you leaving? Why aren't you coming back? And to do that, what you have to do is you have to first establish the latency period for every single one of your services. And what latency is the time in which they must come back for that service. So with Venus Freeze, we already established what's the maintenance period. Very good. Good retention. So every 2 to 3 months. What's the frequency of treating with Venus Freeze? Once a week? Once a week, okay. Once a week for 6 or 8. So after treatment 4, you don't see that patient again. What are we doing? Calling them, finding out where they are. They didn't just win the lottery and leave, right? They won the lottery, they become in more often. So you got to make sure that you find out where they're going. If after their series of Venus Freeze, you've taken their photos, you've done an awesome job, 2 to 3 months from now, you don't see them, what are you doing? What do you do? They didn't, again, just win the lottery and leave for Jamaica. I mean, they're somewhere. So you got to call them. Very few people will say, I lost my job, I moved, major traumatic life event, they got ill, something like that. Most people, you're going to find out there's a reason why they didn't come back. And then you have to mitigate that issue. Whether it's going to be pricing, whether it's going to be service, which is 9 times out of 10 the problem, a problem with the treatment provider, a discomfort with something, you want to find out what that is. So once you've found out that latency period, you have to figure out how to get them back in. Now, in this practice, what we actually did was we employed one person, and that was her job. She sat every day and phoned people who were due for appointments, not people who had booked future appointments. You were already booked, we don't worry about you. We worry about the people who aren't coming back. And her job was to sit on the phone and get these people back in. She was commissioned based on that, to get people back in, because those are people that wouldn't have come back to our practice. And I'll tell you that today, his numbers are between 75 to 85%. So that's the difference in just employing a type of program like this. It's going to take you time from the start, and I won't lie to you, it's going to probably take you a week to sit down and figure out the latency period. Now I can cut some of that in half for you. Just send me an email and I'll send you some of my usual latency periods for things. But you want to figure out your latency period for everything. All your eye creams, all of your serums, all of your services, your Venus Freeze, everything. Once you have that in place, then you need to track your patients and see where they're coming in. Did they purchase this eye cream and you haven't seen them in 6 months to repurchase it, but she's been in having different appointments? What's wrong? What is she using? She's not just not using anything anymore. She's doing something. So now you have to figure out what the problem is. If you don't want to employ someone separate to do that, that's fine. And I've worked with a lot of practices, and what they do is they have the front desk person do this. You'll notice the one common thing I'm not saying is the treatment provider. Number one, they're too expensive to be sitting down in front of the phone calling. The second reason is because sometimes I've found that if the patient had an issue in the treatment room and I call them, they're not going to say, you know, Tracy, I really didn't like you. You know? And there are people who don't like me. I don't understand that. But you know, they're not going to say that. So you want to give them another person to speak to. So then you can say, oh, well, if you didn't like Tracy, well, there's Tina. She's available. Or if you didn't like Tracy, what happened? And you can maybe do some troubleshooting with that employee if it's something that they're doing in the treatment room. Because once the doors close, we don't know what's going on. So that's going to help you with trying to figure out what's going on. And like I said, you can reward them based on a % of what they would actually bring in. So if it's going to be, let's say, typical $2,000, $4,000 a month that they would bring in, I'm talking US dollars, so that's like 1,000 to 2,000 pounds, quick conversion, raw. But if they're bringing in something like that, then you're going to want to give them a percent of that, small percent, that kind of thing. That's usually what I suggest. And again, you're always welcome to send me a quick email, and I can certainly send you information on it, or you can contact Anna, you can contact anybody. Everybody's here for you. And the one-hit wonders. Does anyone remember Milli Vanilli? Was that like popular here? And now I'm aging myself, right? Now you know. You know how much Botox I've had. So one thing you don't want is you don't want the one-hit wonder. So the person who comes in has one service, buys one product, and leaves. And I've had practices tell me this before, or clinics tell me this before. Oh, they only came once, they're not my patient. And I've been horrified by that, because really, if I touch you, you're my patient, and that's it. One touch means that you're my patient. Now, 3 times returning to me means that you're really mine, but one time, I'm still going to treat you as my patient. I still want to know, why didn't you come back? You know, I know I deliver awesome service. I know I've got a great product. Why didn't you come back? What happened? You know, maybe they're an outer towner. Sometimes that happens, relative of someone, but most of the time there's a reason. So follow up on those as well. So I'm going to leave you with, before we do a QA and some hands-on, at the Download Center, these are just some of the things that are there. We continually add stuff, and we won't send you those annoying announcements saying there's something new on the Download Center, because you'd constantly be inundated with garbage. But we do suggest you check it out once a month. Just take a quick peek and see what else we have to offer up there. As we're offering more and more things, as you ask us for more things. So as you ask Anna for things, you know, she comes to all of us and we create these things for you. You know, we're really here for you, and that's what we want to impart you with today, is that we're really here for you as your partner. So does anyone have any questions for me?
Can I just ask, one of my clients said to me that a course of Venus is equivalent to a third of her facelift.
You know, it can be. Now, I'm really cautious. It's funny, we were talking about this today. What percent of a facelift can you do, or what percent can you do of this? And, you know, I'm very cautious of that, because each person's different. So you're giving a biological response to a person. And so your biological response is going to be different than yours and different than yours. Now, when I pair that with Botox and filler and fractional and IPL and Venus Freeze, now you're looking at a percent of a facelift, which you're talking about like a mini lift, as we usually call them, or non-surgical facelift. Typically in North America, we're saying anywhere from 20 to 40% of what a facelift can give. That's a really big range, isn't it? Really big. But the reason that we give that really big range is we don't want to say definitively 30, and 30 is very, you know, speculative. You could look and say, well, I don't think it's 30, and how do you measure 30? And unless you have an elastometer, it's not going to happen. So I wouldn't give them a percent, but I would give them that range that they can work with. Again, it's all about maintenance too. They need to maintain, just like they'd have to maintain a facelift, which people don't realize.
Also, you said about a company, is it Thermage? Again, same client told me about Thermage, but I'd never heard of it. Is it similar to Venus? Or?
No, what it is similar to is its radio frequency. It's the first radio frequency system that was introduced in cosmetic medicine back in 2001. And the thing about Thermage is that it's a monopolar system. So it's delivering it from, you know, the skin to a grounding pad. So again, you've got that pain variant. Now they've added some other things, some, you know, vibration to the handpiece, chilling, things like that. But you still have all of those watts of unused energy traveling through the body to make it to the grounding pad. So, you know, it's a first generation. It was great. It established that radio frequency works. But then you're looking at the last generation, which would be the Venus Freeze of radio frequency energy, where it's delivered on a different platform. Again, it's still bipolar, because you still need positive and negative, but it's the way it's being delivered to the patient that it's controlling all of that. It's not going free range through the body.
Am I right in thinking that that doesn't have the magnetic pulse?
It doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't. And the magnetic pulse adds a whole other variable to it as well. A lot of it is about patient compliance. Now, when you have a monopolar system, what happens too is you have one treatment. And that one treatment, you have to wait 2 to 3 months after having that treatment to see the full results. The problem with waiting 2 or 3 months after seeing the results is that you'll find that you'll have less patient compliance. People will not come back for another appointment because it takes them so much time before they see a result. And they see themselves every single day. They're not going to come back in just to see their before and after pictures. And so they see themselves every day and they say, I don't see any difference, because the changes take place over a period of time. That's why it's nice to have them come back in every week. They get to see the changes with you and the progression with you.
So is the Venus the only one that uses this circular?
Yes.
Of all the machines on the
Yes. We're the only ones who are monopolar. That are monopolar. That are multipolar. Yeah. But we're not the only ones that have a circle.
No, you're
There's
not,
other.
not the only
Yeah.
ones, no.
Other people have a circle, but they're independent of each other. So these two fire, these two fire, these two fire. So it's a little bit different. But the multipolar, where it actually has the capability of changing from positive to negative each pole, yes, we're the only ones. So far, nobody has copied us yet. Any other questions?
I have a guy who's just come into my salon. He's a new guy I've never seen before, and he wants me to deal with eye bags, but just that. And I don't really know how to approach that with Venus Freeze, because obviously I would always do the whole face. I'm worried about concentrating on that area.
Yes, absolutely. You would?
Let's do an eye treatment.
Yeah.
Just an eye.
Yeah, I'm happy to demo an eye treatment, if you would like.
Because I didn't know how it would be with the heat, with just working in such a small zone.
Yeah.
But he's really, really anti-treatment, anti-Asian thing. He just wants it to be that.
Absolutely. Absolutely, and usually people will ask me how much they charge for that kind of a treatment. I usually say approximately 3/4 of what a face treatment would be, because you still have what I call a sitting time. So it's the time in which the patient has to come in, you take off their makeup, and all the things you would normally do during a treatment. Yeah, absolutely.
But he really doesn't want me to do anything else, which I find really hard. I'm hoping when I've done a course on his eyes, I'll be able to do everything else.
Now, one thing you don't want to do is, when you take your pictures, make sure they're only of the eye area. Because when you take them of the entire face and you're only focusing on one area, they're going to see the entire face and they're going to be focusing on all the other areas now that might appear to be more pronounced. So his jowls might now show more because his eyes have been treated. So just take a picture or crop it so then it's just the eyes. And I've done that.
Freeze can work on natural bags as well. I don't have the Venus Freeze, that's fine.
Yeah, there's two different ways to approach the eye area with the Venus Freeze. Is you can approach it for under eye bags and under eye color. So bags are basically the ones that have the fluid or fat in them. You can treat those to tighten them up, and you're doing it the same process as though you're doing a treatment on the face, but I'll show you the actual way of doing the movements. The other way is with color. And so with color, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to be using the PEMF, which is your magnets only as well. And you're going to be doing that to reduce blues, pinks, and reds in the tissue. So you'll notice I specified those. If it's brown and it's from pigment, it's not going to make that big a difference. It might brighten up the area because it does you know, help with circulation and all those things, but it's not going to reduce it as significantly as if it's a blue, a pink, or a red in the area. They still do need the series of 6. There's no way out of that. And they still need to come back once a week.
Is it really effective in that area?
It is. It is. And people are very, very satisfied with it. Absolutely.
Because it's the second guy I've had in actually just asking about that question, and the first guy I sort of lost him because I tried to persuade him that really I needed to be allowed to do the whole face, but I could focus on that area. And because he really only wanted it to be that, he didn't stick with it.
Yeah.
So that's why with this guy I thought, right, I've got to find a way of doing it.
Absolutely. And I would certainly offer that. So why don't we take a peek, and I'll do one now. Unless, are there other questions?
Can I suggest that if you're going to do that, first of all, thank you very, very much
Oh.
for the presentation, which was really fantastic.
Thank you.
I did notice